Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth Tuesday, Saturday edition. All right, we are here in LA and Atlanta. Glad to have our brother back in the mix today, giving his collective, well-deserved knowledge and opinion and all that wonderful stuff, as we share this time together. Hoping to change our part of the world every day that we come forward with something. We just want y'all to start recognizing that, okay? What is it? You get Pete's, what's that jerk name? Bitch, and all of these creative names I come up with these. The one that's in Washington don't know a damn thing about the Army and civil service and all that type of stuff. You don't know nothing what's going on. He's the one that's texting everybody and displaying government secrets, and he doesn't know his what's that guy name?
Hedgepath.
Huh?
Hedgepath.
Yeah, okay. One of them names.
I almost thought he was trying to pronounce Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, was that? No.
That's where my mind was at when he kept whatever he was doing. I kept thinking I was Pete Buttigieg.
Then,
is it Chris? Chris has Hegseg, right?
Segway.
Hedgepath.
Okay. See there.
You know what? To be honest with you, he is so irrelevant to me because of the fact that he is just, oh my God, let's just say that he is not needed for the job that he was picked for.
You say that again.
And he is not the only one. That's why I don't even know him that well. I just know that he's a Fox News anchor.
Weekend anchor.
Who allegedly has all
after
of these,
11 p.m.
Well, hey, allegedly he can't keep his hands to himself if you're a woman or I don't want to say child, but it sounds like if you're of the age of a minor, you need to stay away from him and alcohol too.
Well, stay away.
So I mean, that's how bad he is. And plus, the one thing I don't understand how he hasn't been really fired from the fact that he got caught up in that situation with the Texan. Putting out military information, you know what I'm saying? But still, though, hey, to each his own. That's who that fool chose, and God bless him. Hey,
that is.
It just makes the whole thing worthwhile, to see it all collapse. But let's keep it moving. I ain't gonna talk too long on that fool.
It's
too much to go on.
Too many fools out there to be talking about in that administration. Yeah. But anyway, we want to welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Truth Behind the Truth tonight. We're glad you're taking time out for this Tuesday and Saturday evenings to be with us at the 6:15 hour. All right. It has been a fulfilling and interesting day around the walls of LA, as well as around the country. We want to take a moment. Let's do our house cleaning first. So remember to support us. Cash App, TTBTT Show, and Venmo. Truth Behind the Truth on Venmo. All right. You can try to call in tonight if you decide to. We will be available. The phone line will be available. Preferably for you to text in your comment. You can do that because I may or may not be able to pick up the line. So if you don't pick up, don't get discouraged. Okay. Just go ahead and text a comment in, and we will try to get it on the air where we can. Don't feel bad if we don't. All right. But we will try our best to squeeze in as to what we're talking about with that. But number one thing, keep reminding, please like and share us all over this one.
It's free.
It is.
It's very free to do those things.
And I'm working on, I don't say I, but a we. And thank you for that, Charles. Well, order your mugs. It's still available, $9.99. TTBTT Show. Send an email, and we'll get it out to you. We are working on a system that won't cost you nothing. All right. You just log your phone number in and you will get a text message to when the show goes live. All right. So if you get a text at 3:00 in the morning, you know it's us. Okay?
No.
You got to let them cut you out somewhere. So you might as well let them cut you out at 3:00 in the morning. You won't hear it.
No.
You won't
hear
hear
it. Be the spam that comes through your phone.
Yeah, well, that is true. But yeah, we're going to work on that as well to communicate, because sometimes seemingly on social media, it really doesn't. It does not do as it should. I was just doing this.
How you doing, Charles? You doing okay?
I am recovering from COVID.
Oh yeah. Oh,
he is.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Please be careful, people. COVID is still on and it's popping.
Yeah,
It ain't stopped yet.
it's never going anywhere.
It's not a conspiracy
No,
theory.
no, it's
It's
not going
real.
anywhere. It's for real. It's not, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, they said it's with us forever. So that's okay. I mean, we just learn to adapt to it. But there is not a conspiracy, but there is word. There's a huge pandemic coming down the pipeline.
I would be surprised.
I mean, nasty's people are. Man, I'm surprised it didn't happen right behind COVID.
But Dr. R said this, y'all. Dr. R says that do not harass you shouldn't be harassing the hospital facilities, because if you're young and able, you should not be trying to go down there and harass the insurance companies and all this stuff. Dr. R says you are capable of healing yourself, it seems. So
can I say this about Osmed? Kiss my butt.
I know, right?
Kiss my grits, because Osmed is another one of those clowns from Trump or the Trump circus.
Right. And the sad part
about what we wouldn't have known about this wonderful holistic doctor who seems to have made all this money if it wasn't for the endorsement of a wonderful, gracious woman named Miss O from Harpo Studios.
Same with Dr. Phil.
She has given the MAGA people two sets of idiots, Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz. So
most definitely.
At the end of the day, it always takes one of us to give an endorsement. And the saddest thing about it is it's Oprah who gave these two endorsements.
I don't think she was that new that they were that stupid at the time. She did that.
Hey, the truth comes out.
Yeah.
The cat is out the bag. I mean, when you got a fool who it takes somebody like Trump to show Americans who, at least some of us who thought you couldn't follow a clown like this. You shouldn't be. But no, there are people who believe in this, in this clown, because they believe that at the end of the day, working class Americans must pay back the deficit, so rich folks wouldn't have to put up or deal with it. It's just the fact that they're going to try to push this agenda that we are all complaining about nonsense out here.
You don't know nothing.
Charles, you suffered with COVID, right?
Yep.
It wasn't COVID that you were dealing with. It was all in your mind to these rich folks.
Let me just say this, because I've gone through this discussion with other people. COVID is not a cure. COVID is only a support system. It's not even a remedy. I was available to get the vaccine through the VA the first 2 times. And I got it a little bit for a couple of days the first time. This is my 4th time. The 2nd and 3rd time, I was just positive. I didn't get it again the last year and a half because I thought I was immune maybe. And then boom, I caught it. In the last 15 days, I've been suffering. So just a word to the wise. Don't think it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Well, of course it is. It was conspiracy theory. Then we lost over 1 million people, and too. That's rested in their graves. Rested in the great beyond. At this point, because it was conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't do the bleach way.
The crazy part about that is, if you actually understand how COVID works, COVID only affects 98% of the public is immune to it.
Okay.
Only 2 to 3% actually have a reaction to it. And then there are those of us with high blood pressure, heart issues, and I'm also dealing with sarcoidosis, that it threatens us. You have to have those secondary issues to make you vulnerable. And a lot of people don't think about that.
Right.
They think that, I got it and I was good. But that's not everybody.
Right.
There's a small percentage of us who get it, and we're affected.
Right.
It's so funny, Charles. I was just thinking about this too. Anybody who's kind of at least gotten themselves healed from drug abuse, when you go through the process of being rehabilitated, drugs, I think it strips you of your antibodies. and because of that, I think most people, and I remember reading about Natalie Cole, because she was always going on tour it seemed like every year she was always on the road. She had to get blood transfusions. That's why towards the end of her life she was always in a wheelchair. You know, she just didn't have the antibodies to protect her from wherever she was going. She was always, her antibodies wasn't there to protect her from the flu and colds and all that stuff. So she was always sick. So in situations where you were talking about pre-existing nightmares not nightmares, but these are situations, high blood pressure, diabetes and stuff. Yes, if you do have those pre-existing situations, you are vulnerable to the situation of COVID because your body doesn't have the muscle to fight it. And that's what a lot of young folks don't understand is that, I don't care how healthy you think you are. You could be a bodybuilder in the gym, but if you don't have that antibodies, that muscle mass don't mean a damn thing. It don't at all. I mean, when people get it all the way missed, yeah.
Well, I mean, and I agree with you. Okay. So let's say this part. Working out does have a benefit to keeping your immune system up. Okay, I mean, because you do build up certain defenses of that. Certain defenses, and not over everything, but it does help. But it does, because of that, it does allow your body to help heal itself. I mean, much better. Because I remember when I was diligently in the gym, and I would get a little, every now and then. 2 days later, it was gone. From that, because I kept pushing myself at that particular point in time. So it does, and statistically, it does help. However, the thing that Charles is mentioning, when COVID hit our household, I mean, it got both of us pretty bad. I mean, at the end of the day, and I was a little iffy, but because of the pre-existing conditions that I had, had at that time, and that kind of put me in a kind of like a little fearful state because you didn't know, at the end of the day, you really didn't. But the one thing, and we're gonna get off of this, but the one thing was that the doctor told both of us, remember when we finally got diagnosed, is that you started treating it as a cold when you found the symptoms. He said you started taking cold medicines and things, and he said that helped your system develop a defense against what was going on. He said the majority of the people that found they had it, they didn't do anything, and they were severely ill, and then tried to go to the ER, different places to be able to do that, and the lungs had already been completely infected, and and whatever the case may be, and they transitioned unfortunately from it. He said, but that was one of the greatest things you did was to start taking cold medicine from the beginning, as treating it as it was a cold when you found the symptoms gone. I said, wow,
But doesn't COVID attack the weakest of the weakest part of your system? Because when I can recall, when we caught COVID, the lower part, the back of my the back, which is, I believe, is located is the bladder, right? Is the bladder?
Typically,
typically the bladder. Because I noticed that because of that, I do have a weak bladder at times. I know that was the biggest issue when I caught COVID, was the lower part of my back.
Right.
And it felt like hell trying to lay down and go to sleep.
Let me just say this as a producer of the show.
Okay.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the medical association
or the current administration,
or the current administration, or of StreamYard. These are those of our opinions based on how we feel, and everyone is not the same. We're all different.
Yeah, it's true. That is so true.
So just do your research, please. Do your research and don't do bleach.
Well, only if you're trying to be orange.
Well, hey, whatever the jump is to get you going, hey, go for it. Right? But anyway, no, I mean, just if you're experiencing that, in your life, do the right thing by yourself, okay? And then at the end of the day, get your vaccinations. I'm sorry, I should say that because that's not legal.
Please take care of yourself.
Yeah, please take care of yourself. Okay, so I can't promote vaccinations because our new health administrator won't like that. At the end of the day,
if you actually do those, you never know.
Yeah,
what you said, Charles?
If you actually do those vaccines, you never know what they'll do to you.
I cannot.
You just wish he would just drink some herbal tea
or something.
Or spit that stuff out.
I just
He had a health
peppermint and water or something. Get out of your throat. Get that shit out your throat. Come on, comment up or do something.
You're supposed to feel bad for him. But anyway, let's go. Let's go. Let's get on him.
All right. I was so insensitive of me.
What?
Oh my God.
Wait, we're gonna go talk about the. We're
Yes,
gonna mention. We're gonna take a kind of a positive somber. Okay, I'm gonna put it that way and just say. Want to say good evening to Mama tonight for watching, Miss Billy Smith, Christopher. Thank you guys, and y'all the other ones that have not listened to yourself tonight. Thank you for tuning in tonight to the show, and we love your feedback and the comments that you're making. Thank you so much for that. All right. Yeah. So, kind of a somber, but yet not necessarily so a somber moment. Now, of course, the world, from the Catholic faith per se, the Pope transitioned day before yesterday, and I know there's so many different people all over the map about what the Catholic Church is and whatever the case may be, and blah 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 blah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene says that's the devil.
Oh my God! Let's see. You know what? I was gonna bring her up in a minute. Trifling ass. Big, what is it? Big body, busted, blonde, blue, booby, whatever her name is.
You talking about Maga Teresa?
Yeah, Maga Teresa. But anyway, let's see. Wait a minute. Hold on. So, but anyway, yeah, I just want to, kind of pay homage to him, because one thing is that this Pope did desperately try to do is to do some reforming as far as the Catholic churches and what it had stood for many years, So he was kind of on the forefront to kind of trying his best to bridge the gaps. Now, of course, going up against different administrations that people have been in place for so long periods of time, conservatives and things like that, about that. So I want to pay homage to him for that. At the end of the day. If you ever get an opportunity to go to Rome, which we're hopefully going to go back there at some point soon, and visit the Vatican, it is an amazing place. All right, it is considered a city by itself. Okay, it has its own zip code, it has its own area code, it's all of those things encompassed behind those walls, and it is amazing. Even to go in, I felt honored to be able to go in the Sistine Chapel. Oh wow! Wherever where all of the events are about to take on, very, very. Not that I was Catholic, you can go in places not represent their line of faith. It's historical, and it's a very historical, and there's a lot of history that's in that in the Vatican about a lot of things. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about at that point. But I just want to encourage you. Don't look. Love everybody, like this man tried to do. He didn't care if you were Baptist, pink, Methodist, orange, Muslim, or whatever. He really tried to cross the lines and have peace among humanity, and that was what was so beautiful about him. In the course of it all. The other point that we're gonna move on is, you got to say that this man had to have some sort of relationship with him and Jesus, him and God, him and Mary, or somebody. Okay, for him to come out, all right, and to give his message, all right, preach his word. I'm gonna put this one, bring it down a little bit. Preach his word that afternoon, and knew he was getting ready to go home, and went back in, had a light little dinner, and went and relaxed even and transitioned on over. How often does anybody that? To me, that speaks a lot. Necessarily about his relationship and where he was with things, and understood how he adhered to the call when it happened. So he went out and did what he had to do. He greeted the people felt one. And the thing about it is that out of those millions of men, even us that are not necessarily Catholic, will always remember this man got out front and went home, 6 hours later? That to me, that's amazing. That's an amazing relationship. That's an amazing understanding of who you are, regardless of anybody else cares, understands it. He understood who he was, and what he brought to the planet, brought to the earth, in his perspective. Now, my hope is just that whomever's going to replace him will be able to continue his work and continue working on bridging this gap of humanity that we have, that religion separates us from. All right, let's go ahead and move on.
One more thing. He said something that was so powerful about this situation with immigration. He said, and then a person who thinks only about building walls, wherever they may be, and not building bridges is not Christian.
Wow.
This is not in the gospel. I say only that this man is not Christian if he has said these things like that. And you know who he was talking about, too.
Absolutely.
Now, the Pope said this. So this man talking about, Trump saying the other day that, we're bringing religion back to America and all this other stuff. And for Maga Teresa to say what she said, if you are Catholic and you voted for that, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for your self-hatred.
Yeah,
I do. I'm sorry.
Yes.
She really just, insulted
She did.
Catholicism as a whole.
She,
so I'm surprised she is able to get up out of her bed and do what she does best, is do, and say that type of stuff. But hey, if you voted for that and you're Catholic, God bless you. But hey, she just insulted y'all to the most high.
Really, and I encourage you guys to go look up what she said. You know, you can Google it or whatever. I mean, if she'd in front of me, I probably would have slapped the taste out of her mouth. I mean, honestly.
Well, Mother Nature already did that to her face.
Well,
so leave it alone.
Leave it
alone. It's already been slapped. So let's just keep that one moving. Mother Nature did that already.
And her busted blonde busted blonde body, busted blonde, whatever it is.
She's busted all up and through.
You know y'all going to hell, right?
Huh?
Y'all going to hell talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, okay.
Maga Teresa is her name. It's not Marjorie. It's Maga Teresa. Okay. And she is busted. Don't look at that body. It's busted. And we can keep this conversation moving.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, enough about busted body, blood, and Maga Teresa. Teresa. I mean, shoot, I ain't perfect, but I know a bad busted body when I see one, and me and her will be in the same group. We both got the bad busted bodies. Me and Maga Teresa in the same boat. Let's keep this ball going. Oh, yeah, no self-deprecation.
And she in the gym every day. She in the gym, but it ain't working. It's just if you're working, it's just not working. She ain't proportionally together. She busted on both ends.
That's true.
Okay, wait. All right, let's move on from busted bodies.
Truth behind the truth. I mean, the gym ain't working. You got to do something about it.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Tijuana, T&J. Tijuana. That's all.
Moving on from busted bodies, but we're going to see good energy to all, to our Catholic brothers and sisters that are in mourning right now, and we send you love and Godspeed, in your time of grief. All right, Charles, go ahead and play that clip. We're going to move into a little bit of conversation tonight about encouraging our fellow brothers and sisters, typically on African American side, but it's no shade, in terms of what we're about to talk about. And it's more about the empowerment, because we talk about this on the show all the time about within the community, we're not empowering. Number one, for our wealth's sake, and understanding how wealthy as a community of people, by and large, not within the ranks of a community, but by and large, we spend over $1.7 trillion a year into the economic system. So we're going to pick up the conversation after this video and kind of go into that a little bit more and just offer our points of suggestion of where that can be.
Shade, was there supposed to be a palm tree? No shade. Stop. Was there supposed to be a palm tree? I just wonder.
Anyway, Charles, put them fans on it. Get them fans on it.
You said no shade. I thought it was a palm tree somewhere.
You know what I'm talking about.
Was there supposed to be a palm tree?
Okay, can we go? Okay. All right, go ahead, Charles.
Right now, do you know we brought in $1.3 trillion last year as a people? Out of 226 nations on the earth, that makes black people in America the 8th richest nation. We brought in $600 billion more than Spain, $700 billion more than Mexico. Yes, Spain has 46 million people like we do, and they maintain a 208,000 square mile landmass, and they have their own everything. Mexico has 131,700,000 people, and they're maintaining 771,500 square miles with half the money we have. Yet they have whole countries, and we don't have nothing we can call our own. Something happened to us. We got to get back into what they call today financial literacy, but we got to do it quick, because we got to start doing something for ourselves. We got the dollars. We just need some more sense to go with them dollars. We need some more sense, because right now we the leaders in unnecessary spending. We always buying stuff we don't need with money that we don't have from people that we don't like to impress people that we don't even know. And the black mind right now has been hardwired where happiness is connected to spending when it needs to be hardwired to investing and to save. And if we can renegotiate the contract in the black psyche, well, happiness to spending, to investing and saving, I think we'll be able to build a bright future for our people.
Absolutely. I got to give him an applause on that. Absolutely.
Now, I have a rebuttal on that, but I'm gonna let everybody speak before I get in on my retention.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Charles.
Okay, so let me just say this. We don't have that type of money. We spend that type of money.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay.
So, and then we're speaking on Mexico. If Mexico is doing so damn well, they wouldn't be coming here. So let's try to keep this in perspective. Yes, we spend a lot of money that we don't have. And yes, our mindset is in the wrong place.
Right.
But the problem is the environment we're raised in. You can't tell a person who's struggling when they get some money, you need to invest, you need to get some stocks and bonds, and you need to look out for growth. They don't know that. That literacy is not there. And that's the point.
Okay, so let me push back on that point.
Point taken.
Okay, point taken. But let me push back on that just a little bit. All right, and I do understand where the idea that my first point on that is that where do we stop the excuses for the environment in which we have been privy to? Okay, where do we stop that? That's for I'm gonna have to answer this. That could be one of the points that we go through. We do have institutions that are available in those communities that can educate, okay, but choose not to for different reasons, which we can unpack that one, in a few minutes with that. I am just of the mindset, and I'm a product of entrepreneurship. My mama was an entrepreneur, my aunts were entrepreneurs, and they didn't settle for the lack thereof. And, let's just say, let's just take it back well over 100 years ago, and I'm gonna say well over 100 years ago, with my grandfather was an entrepreneur. Now, what happened to him was the thief and the robber in the night, of course, and and we know who those were. I think I told a story about him, on the show before. My ascendant family, or of my grandfather, we would probably be bigger than the Rockefellers, honestly, in this country, if his idea was not stolen from him. Okay, my grandfather developed the underground sprinkling system back in 1920. And
that's during the Spanish-American War.
Yeah.
That's during Roswell and the rest of that.
Right. So, and he was quote unquote an immigrant from the Bahamas. Okay. He didn't come here enslaved. My great grandparents were enslaved, by choices in a lot of situations. But I'm going to get into history the rest about my family. But the point is that when he was at that point of having this, now the one thing that he can have on record is that the first African American or Black family in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, had plumbing all through their whole house, working plumbing in their house. That was unheard of. Okay, that was completely unheard of. And he built this by hand from the ground up and had the same vision of doing that for underground sprinkling of water, watering grass and whatever it can be. But he shared it with the wrong people, okay, thinking that the wrong people would support and carry it further. But they took it, stole it, and as you well know, now everywhere all over this planet, you got underground sprinkling systems, okay? So I brought that up to simply say is that we can't stay in this mode of what we don't have. We've got to find a way to have, all right? And that is executing a lot of the disciplines that the gentleman was saying on the video. And we don't do that in most cases. We don't. In most families, they don't, all right? Because, again, Gucci gets the money, Louis gets the money, Fendi gets the money, Weave and Pat gets the money, and I'm not saying something wrong with looking good. Now, if it's in your budget to be able to do that, fine. But if it's not in your budget, stop doing it. Okay, and put that money aside. And you think about it, for every Louis Vuitton bag you got, what if you to save that $1,500 or $2,000 and put that aside?
Well, I hope they are saving that money after what China had just told us on TikTok.
Yeah, anyway.
I'm just saying, if you buying that stuff after China told y'all they only sell it for like 75 cents in China, and you buying it for 300,000, then you look like boo the food.
Well, but again, exactly, and then it comes down to the educating in the system. Okay, so there has been a strong lack of education when it comes to money in the community, lack of education.
Yeah.
And I did put out there in our meeting yesterday that I said one of the problems that we find in the African American community, because it is taught that to fear money. And when it becomes a fear for you, and it is taught in our religious institutions to fear money, because what you hear all the time in religion, the root of all, what is the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, that's not the way that is. You've been misquoted. Okay, that's not what it means. Okay, but I'll get into that in a minute. I don't want to get into that part right now. But so in this, and we have had this, again, alleged propaganda that has come to our communities, and now we don't understand our importance of the wealth, number one, that we possess. There are people that watch this show, they have land, they have all these things, they found a way, some way, to be able to do that and maintain. I'm a landowner, you're a landowner as well, and to maintain that. But there's a lost generation of African American people that don't understand owning property. Now that ownership may go away if what's the name keep trying to do with America, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, go ahead. What's your point? I'm sorry, I'm gonna check my mouth up for a moment.
Thing is, that's why I don't care much for the whole culture of game banging and all this stuff, because how can you hold down an area that you don't own? And that's the one thing owning property, they say, is another form of generational wealth. If you own property or you buy a home and you own that for a certain amount of time, you're building generational wealth. But then I also believe that our community is psychologically, we like to feel validated. We like to feel some form of validation from whatever we are doing with ourselves, and then that comes with spending lots of money and then living above one's means. I think, to be honest with you, when it boils down to it, it's going to take, because we're such a status-driven community.
Thank you.
I think it will take those who we look up to show us the way. But then on top of that, it will also take us taking up the responsibility to do it for ourselves. It's just it's just one of those things that I always say at the end of the day, you're damn if you do and you're damn if you don't. We're not, I would consider, the most richest. You're lucky to find somebody within your family that makes good money. I ain't gonna lie to you. We all are not making, I would say, good money as Black folks. You'll be surprised. A lot of us are not that wealthy, and then we still go out and want to splurge. And the saddest thing about this is,
because of acceptance.
That too, but the saddest thing about this is, you think about also when it boils down to things that, and I'm going to put this also within the situation of Black men. I had a conversation with this guy. I was doing work at a Smart and Final, and this guy, he was sweeping up the parking lot. And I think I mentioned this on the show some time back.
Oh yeah.
And the guy,
last week,
it might have been last week. The guy was just randomly. We were just having a conversation. He greeted him. We introduced each other. The same old rhetoric. Right. But anyway, he went as far as to say, what, man, I'm trying to make this day, count. I'm trying to make this money because, in order to get this woman and to, in order to get to the goop bits, I need some money. And I said to myself, while he was saying, I said, well, where's the priority in that? Now, you need a woman that bad, you would go broke trying to get to the goop bits and not thinking about at least saving as much as you can to pay at least some of your bills and your rent. But knowing what I know, that is the situation, not only with that man, but with every man and sometimes with every woman. It's not only with the men, it's also with the women. It's just priorities. It's just not in place. And then on top of that, how can you save money if you're not making enough of it? Well, that is the question I want to ask to those who, how can you save something that you don't make enough of?
Well, see,
how does that work?
Saving something versus saving nothing is if it was just $5,
but bills are coming like
no. But if it was just $5, okay, $5 a week. Okay, you have to make a way in order to make it happen, based on where it is and what your income is. Because if you fall into the scenario of not making enough to save, you will never save and you will never change your scope on everything. But go ahead, Charles.
As always, let me get a pushback.
Okay, go ahead.
Everybody's not the same.
Right.
We all are different. My family owns land, and we're still fighting amongst each other on how to do the land. So and as a high school dropout with a GED, who actually achieved a lot of success in electronics and in engineering in a Fortune 500 company where everybody had degrees but me, but I'm the leader. There are opportunities in which we seize, but your priorities aren't everybody's priorities. That's the same as you playing basketball and people say you need to get a real job. You need to do something. But yet there are people who leave high school and make multi-millions. LeBron James and all them, Kevin Garnett. Everybody's not the same. And we got to stop being so judgmental about what everybody else does that we don't do.
Well, you struck a very good point about that. Okay. And, based upon the situation, we're all parents and pseudo parents, through this conversation, right here. And parenting has a lot to do how people perceive themselves. Okay. Because it
now you're parenting with upbringing, your surroundings, your community.
Seriously, upbringing, and you have to think about it as a parent, number one, because a lot of the parents that say, well, if they got a son that's active and, they force them to football, they force them to basketball, they force them into the opportunity of those areas of sports and saying, well, you don't need to be a dancer because you can't make any money being a dancer. I'm just using an example. You can't be an actor, God forbid, because you're not going to make any money being an actor. You need to go out there and play some football and get your ass kicked, and then be a real man for life, You know what I'm saying? So we plant all of these different levels of seeds, and we start at childhood, And one of the things that I heard a psychiatrist say, psychologist say a long time ago, we mess up the framing of our people lives because we don't teach them in the realm that they're teaching us. Think about that. We don't teach them in the realm they're teaching us, meaning that every child comes here with their gift. Every child comes here with their incentive things that inspire them. But a good portion, I don't want to put percentage, but a good portion of parenting, we try to steer them the other direction because it's not what our idea is for them. Okay. And we steer them away from the possibilities of their wealth. We steer them away of being president. We steer them away from being second lady or a judge or whatever the hierarchy of idea in this society would be, because we start telling them this is not for you. Well, really?
Well, go ahead. That's a little different because, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm that difference. My father was an honors student, straight A's, all state and all city track star. And him and my mom pushed education on me. I'm a geek undercover, but you'll never see me sit out there to get A's and B's. But my parents realized after I grew up that I'm smart. I didn't need school as much as anybody else, but I absorbed what I went through. Now, like I said, my family have land. My mom's a great business mind. She took care of my whole family by herself. My dad didn't even have to work. But the key to that all is we have to understand that everybody has their own vision. And this is what I tell young kids when I speak to them every day and I mentor. At 16, 17, and 18, you don't know what the hell you want to do. You don't know nothing about life. So when people telling you need to figure out what you got to do and where you're going to be, hell, I was 40 years old before I realized this is what my talent or my gift is. I was 40 years old. Even my mom goes, I didn't know you knew about this. I took it in because it was something I wanted to do, my passion. And even with that, as much as I said I didn't want to be Tyler Perry, I was broke, living out my car, homeless. No matter what you feel other people should do, we all have our journey and we all have our vision or perspective on what we need to do. And this is why I think our children are having such a problem, because we push all this stuff on them. And instead of trying to be understanding and expose them to different things and figure out where that gift may be, we're going, this is what you need to do. And that's what you got to be. And of course they're going to fight because kids are rebellious.
Absolutely. And it's not speaking to them.
Because of it, some of us are with student loan debt. And
I didn't even go to college. Well, I did, but the debt I got is my daughter's.
But what's so funny about, with all of that being said, you need discipline. And that's where I wanted to gear that towards when I was talking about that man.
Discipline structure.
Well, that too. But the discipline needs to be there for at least for the community to be financially free.
Okay.
Because I think everybody wants to be financially free. Because once you're financially free, you don't feel like you're stressed or you don't feel like you're tied down to something. That most people who are employed, and I'm not trying to harp on those who are, because I'm employed to a corporation. But some of us have jobs because we are tied down. We're not financially free to move around because all of us are paying down some form of debt that has to be paid off. And I think that is not all of our situations, but I can best believe that is half of the country as we speak. Well, because we're all tied down with some form of debt. But also I want to add this too. Come discipline, come the reality that at the end of the day, you have to live within your means. And plus, like you said, save money. I think we have to, like you was talking about owning land and all this other stuff. I wish as a community, we would talk about more about trying to find a way to build generational wealth.
Right, exactly.
And that in itself would help save us from all of these situations of having to not, especially if you're trying to maintain some form of wealth. I'm so sorry because I'm all over the place right now. But I also want to say this: when it boils down to this other community, I'm not going to even put them out there because we talk about them all the time. But when you go to a wedding and you give gifts, what do you give? Like you mostly would see people give like a toaster or a microwave, and all
whatever's on that list.
Why is that we don't give cash and money in stock, or land, or house, or that stuff right there is more important than the stuff that you would give somebody at a wedding. And that could be your daughter, or your son, or your cousin. Why is that we as African Americans, why do we not get into the culture of giving away at least?
Because we're doing tithes. You're too busy forcing everybody to be in church. You're too busy making sure you know the Lord. You're too busy trying to make sure that you live a righteous life and remember about heaven and hell. We don't teach reality or life that is actually happening to us. We teach about what's beyond. And that's not helping us.
I think that should be the new thing. I think instead of us giving things like, I got a wedding registry. Let me just go and make sure I write down a list of what I need. No, you need to say, no, I need some money. After this wedding,
help me invest in some stock. Give me some stock. Give me some stock.
After this wedding, I got
to live.
We got to live. Why do I need these things if I ain't got a place to store?
You said a lot about at that, and again, some of this is, and I'm not pushing back. I'm agreeing with all what you're saying. Some of this is again, it's cultural behavior. Okay, and like Charles said earlier on, as our forefathers in a lot of situations, they did not have the foreknowledge as to necessarily to go into that. I'm going to bring out one of our like-minded cultural people in just a second, and we didn't. You and I talked about this the other day. I don't understand in my head of things that 1922 we had a community that was destroyed. Okay, we had it completely destroyed. Okay, so why was that never redone? Why did we not take the bull by the horns and redo that? The fear of money, okay, the fear of situation, the fear of success, because the fear had got implanted that if you go this far, then guess what? Somebody from that community is going to come and take it or destroy it up from you again. So that fear has got planted in. But let's just take it off that just for a moment. I said the other day, here's an organization that's been on the forefront for Black empowerment for over 100 years, about 102 years at this particular point in time, that has never, in my understanding, has talked about any Black empowerment, but they talked about civil rights. They talked about everything else. They had meetings for this. And I'm talking about the NAACP. Okay. Why in 100 years that we have not utilized an assembled group of people with ideas to start a damn credit union, a bank, the list that goes on, to educate the community of its shortfalls. We know that money is a shortfall when you don't possess it. Okay, why didn't we do that? But we were on the front line with it. It's fine. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with being on the front line, but on that front line with a plan.
I'm surprised.
Okay,
I'm surprised when that happened. Mm-hmm. When that happened, that the NAACP wasn't on the ground making sure that town was rebuilt.
Well, they were on the ground.
They were on the ground. If they were, then I need to do research. But to be honest,
they were on the ground. But
I didn't read too much about the fact that they were. I read about the Red Cross being out there giving those black people hell because those white folk were not trying to make them out to be the refugees that they were. Really, they were refugees. But the fact is that I did not understand why the NAACP, even at that time, did not give they didn't do the due diligence of trying to make sure that community was really rooted and founded on something that was so solid. Okay. If anything like that happened again, they would have a backup.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it like this.
All right, go ahead.
Stop blaming the NAACP for being the savior of all black people, because they're not. They're still the Southern Leader Conference. The SCLC was out there at the same time. So was SNCC. So was a lot of other groups. So stop putting it all on the NAACP to be the savior of everybody. And then also remember, look at Seneca Valley, which became Central Park. Look at doggone Lake Lanier, which became a damn lake. So you can't just look at people and say, it's like right now, Trump is doing illegal things, and how come we haven't stopped him and told him, get Elon Musk out of there? Same thing. So black people didn't have that much power. So how are we expecting them to step in and say, hey, don't do that? And people are supposed to say, oh, black folks said something. You got to back up.
Okay, let me push back on that point, Charles. Okay, now I understand what you're saying about that. But see, like you say all the time, okay, where's the code? Where is the fact that, hey, okay, let's start doing this. Let's start doing this. Let's start bringing fruit to the Sunday morning service so that everybody going to have a piece of fruit to carry home with them. Okay, let's go to start bringing some. I'm being funny, but you bring some seeds to the Sunday morning worship, and you go home and plant some seeds so you can bring some back. Okay, so it didn't take the NAACP, it didn't take SCL, CAD, G, K, I, F, and G. It didn't take that, but it does take the responsibility of somebody, a group of somebody taking the lead to give a suggestion to help people follow. But when
so let's run it back. I tell this to people every single day. We too busy looking out the damn window pointing, but nobody looking in the mirror and saying what they doing. Right. So let me ask you, as you just said, what are you doing?
Okay. What's the name of this show?
Truth Behind the Truth. But to be honest with you,
what's the conversation?
That is the point. What are we doing?
What are you doing?
What are we going to do?
Right.
What are we going to do?
So,
but I think what we are doing at this point is spreading the word.
Right.
At the end of the day, the word is that
exposure.
It is exposure. I just feel like at the end of the day, and like you said, we need to have some type of cultural code because I don't think everything should be on the 6 o'clock news. That's one thing I cannot stand about our culture, that we like to put everything on the 6 o'clock news for everybody to hear, which I don't think everybody should hear what we got going on. Yeah. But that's a whole nother conversation. But it goes back to taking discipline. You have to have discipline. The discipline has to be there. Like that man said, we got to stop being the consumers of this country and the builders of wealth. And plus, nobody is not going to do for us anymore. We cannot even go back.
Why expect that? That's a whole other conversation. Why expect that? Why do we have this? It's got to be this way.
But there is this reparations talk. You even had some people talking about Trump is going to give me a stimmy and all this stuff. At the end of the day, that is coming out of some of our some people's mouth that looks black to me. I don't know if they from Africa, but they from America.
Our skin folk ain't kinfolk.
They ain't kinfolk. Right, but mom in the comment said about the financial aspect of it. I'm trying to go back as far as I can because I think I bypassed everything that was said. It said, in the comment section, it said it comes from a lack of trust. It's hard to trust a system that robs the poor to sustain their wealth. My cousin developed the VCR, which was stolen from him by an agency. Also, it's also to tell people if they have an idea to write it down and mail it to yourself. Do not open the letter, but
poor man's copyright doesn't work as well now. They learn how to go above and beyond that.
Yes. So the post office verify your idea
anymore. Yeah, it doesn't do that anymore. We have to go a little deeper now.
And the saving aspect is if we could save 5% of your pay, of anybody's pay, it will build. You have to live within your means.
Right.
You're okay. So is that is something that that is the solution to, I think, to the situation with finances. I think you have to understand that at the end of the day, especially right now, it's going to get rough. Right. The tariff situation is going to get rough on us who live from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. But they also know that us as African Americans, because we just as lazy, we don't do too much of anything. They know for them that we don't have it. So they're looking for us to go crazy in the scheme of things, which I doubt that we will go crazy because we know how to do certain things. I'm going to push back with you.
Statistically, we do have it. We're just not managing it. Okay. We do have it because the comment as we start out, the conversation was that the man said we do have it. It's just going in the wrong direction. We're spending it the wrong way.
It will take discipline. The solution is discipline.
It does. But
you cannot go buy Jordans when Jordans is fresh and new. You got to put away your Hermes and your Dolce Gabbanas and all that stuff. And then on top of that, Beyonce, love her to death. I think she deserves the high prices of tickets. But then I think she does. Okay. But to be honest with you, if you are not able to afford tickets, put Beyonce on the back burner. Girl, you're not that important to what's going on in my home.
Touch the pearls.
I know, right?
What do you mean?
But Beyonce touch the pearls.
It's not only Beyonce. Is it Kendrick Lamar? You can support Kendrick and Lamar by buying, whatever their merchandise. But if you ain't got it, don't buy it. Yeah. What did that lady tell you in the store that day? You said that she was like she's 75 years old. And
what did
she tell you?
She's I think she's Armenian. No, she's not Armenian.
Oh God, don't say that out loud. Don't say that out loud. But go what she said.
So she said, she was interested in, purchasing some items at the store, and the push with our company, which I'm not giving them any credit right now, that they want everybody to get entrapped into financing, which is always a trap. Credit cards,
and interest,
right? And that's another. Trapped in credit, and we need to do a show on that one. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, so she said to me, she learned this when she was a teenager. She said that if she did not have the viable means in her bank account or in her pocket to pay for it in full by cash, she wasn't buying it. Okay, and she would wait until she got it. Okay, when she got the money, but she would not, now she has credit because she had that, but she owes nobody anything, and she can come and go in any place she wants to drop down $5,000. She can drop down $5,000 because she's saved.
But what's her backstory? Her backstory is what made her who she is. And like I tell you, every day, too many of us are broke and poor, and too many Black men don't believe they're going to live above 25-year-olds. So they're going to do all they can do while they can do, because they don't think they'll be here.
Well, but and I hear you with that, Charles. But see, the thing about it is, like you said all along, is that we've got to change that message. We've got to change that thought pattern. Okay, because if that mindset keeps reigning, and we keep perpetuating, putting it into the young people that are going to, we will not change what we're seeing. Okay, and one of the problems that I have always said, and I will not take it back, is that what we have experienced as African American understanding, has been perpetuated from our house of worships. Okay, because we have become products of what we thought slavery was to represent for the rest of our lives, and not many of them changed the thought pattern. This is why slavery is the majority of our conversation to this day. We do not talk power, wealth, and prestige. It's not of it. We run right back to what happened 400 years ago and think that's going to change your mindset for tomorrow, and it will not. And we keep this same cycle going. We've got to stop the cycle. We've got to change what we say. We've got to change what we think about. If you ever want to get from being 100-year to 1,000-year, you got to at least think about not being a millionaire.
But you got to remember, churches aren't the same that they used to be.
Well,
churches are funded and subsidized by the government. And if you don't use my Bible that I give you and teach the perspectives that I require, which like Trump is with the colleges now,
right,
then you can't get your money.
Right.
And these preachers want their jets. They want their homes. They want their cars. They don't do what they used to be. They're not in the community helping the people struggling to eat or need a job or some guidance and direction. If you don't come there and pay your tithes, and I know this personally, when I was out of work and I needed help, and my ex-wife gave tons of money to them, even when we were struggling, and they go, well, we need to check your tithes report in order to tell you how much we can help you.
Well, I got a solution to that. The Church of Frugality. Somebody, the Church of Frugality. Okay. Somebody need to Latter-day Saints. I'm just saying, somebody need to start it because if that's the case, then we need to start the church. We need to teach frugal. We need to be frugal in what we are doing and put nonsense to the side. And that would be the solution. Well,
what I'm saying is that I don't want to necessarily blame that setting for what it is, but what I'm utilizing that is that there should have been and can still be a direct voice to change the mindsets of people. Yeah. But we're still so concerned about heaven and hell, and we living through all kind of hell right now. At the end of the day, that is an institutional place where conversation can happen to the benefit of elevating people to see themselves better. Now, we always want to talk about prosperity, so-called prosperity of God, as long as it's focusing on the person that's allegedly bringing word from the pulpit. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to you, it ain't happening. Why? I put out on a post the other day, I think right behind the gentleman that we showed earlier on. I said, it's okay for you to ride the bus, but the preacher got a Bentley. What's wrong? Something wrong with that picture to me. Okay, and that's not everybody's church. Some of y'all gonna get mad at me for saying that. Like, that's not everybody's
Lock the doors.
Okay.
Lock the doors.
Yeah, lock the doors. Okay. I'm just saying is that if we have a gathering place such as this, okay, we want to pray, we want to believe God for everything else, but we can't believe God to get us out of the poorhouse. Wow, my goodness. Okay, we believe for everything else. Well, God gonna change it. You know what? Y'all need to stop expecting God to change something and get off of your ass and go to work. Okay?
Either God is not all-knowing or he's not all-powerful, because there's a big difference in what the world is going through. If God's all-knowing, that means he knows we're getting ready to go through these struggles. Okay. He's not telling us. He's not all-powerful because he's not stopping it. Okay. He's not putting a bridge for us to get past this. Okay. So we keep putting too much power into something that we believe in. I tell these people every day, God is within you. Right. How you empower yourself, how you believe that the world should be, instead of going to what they call it, a brick and mortar or wherever the group where 4 of us gather, this is church. No, the spirit is in you. The power is within you. And once you believe that's there, you can step out and do what you need to do.
That's right. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
I totally agree. But that's to those, that's a discipline.
Yeah,
that's a form of discipline of being somewhere where they're every Sunday doing what they think is best for their life. Like you just said, Charles. Now I'm playing devil's advocate. You can't tell people.
That's true. That's true.
But see, the thing about it is though, and on a real tip, I just feel like at the end of the day, the discipline just got to be there. Mm-hmm. It's got to be there, and it's essential. And we cannot, and it's going to always come down to discipline, because we cannot always look at people that we're striving to be and do what they do. You have to live in the form of reality that this is where I'm at. Mm-hmm. I see that they have the newest everything, but at the end of the day, that is not all that's important to me. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates and Adam Sandler, these are millionaires. But you know what they call these two millionaires or billionaires? They call them broke millionaires, because you would never know when they out there in public that they are rich. Mm-hmm. They're not wearing the latest. They're not riding in the latest, and they're not flossing the latest. And that is the problem with, I feel like, with some of our African-American celebrities and whoever, and because especially some of our worship leaders. Right. If you are people who are wearing Gucci in the church, what that puts us, that really really does make the
mess with somebody's mind.
It does mess with the congregation and say, damn, Pastor was wearing a Louis Vuitton suit. I need to go get that because Pastor was looking fly.
Right.
But I hate to say this, but Pastor is probably on another tax bracket. You don't need to be doing what Pastor's doing. And Pastor needs to understand that you don't need to be wearing that. Honestly, you need to be coming for real with your worship.
Right.
Because even Jesus would have came in with a stylish suit. I'm just saying,
right.
y'all.
Well, you know that Senator Warnock is under investigation because he didn't say about the $1 million house that the church, Ebenezer Church, puts him in.
Wait a minute.
He also didn't mention the $400,000 a year that they're giving him as the head of the church.
Wait a minute. Well, who
is his budget? Warnock.
Senator Warnock. Book that's coming out. You gonna buy it?
Nah, but see, that's the key. Everything has its drawbacks, and we all have to remember we play a part. Right. And like I said, to me, and I know I'm gonna get hated for this, but I don't think churches should be tax free.
No,
I really don't.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, especially these evangelical rights that have put all of their votes behind Trump and have indoctrinated their members to support the MAGA. Yes, I think honestly, I hope if there is another Democratic president in my lifetime to get back into office, they need to push for that. Right. They really do need to push for these churches to be taxed to the bone marrow.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Because what I now saw in this past election is that the fact that the indoctrination was so strong in these churches, but to be honest with you, it goes back to the fact that these politicians don't need to be going into these churches. Number one.
Yeah, that's true too. They
don't need to be going up in the pulpit trying to tell people who to vote for. That's just the wrong place to go to be trying to indoctrinate people to say, well, vote for me. No, they need to be, I hope in the middle of their prayer that they're praying for the right thing and hope, and especially if you're a working class American, because I'm going to say this and going to let this one go. As a working class American, if you voted for this man, you have already put yourself in the hole already. And I grew up an acolyte from my grandfather's baptized, confirmed, etc. The more I was involved and learned about the culture of religion, it turned me off to become agnostic for the rest of my life. Especially commercial religion.
Right.
Commercial religion ruins everything that's spiritual. Yes. But still, going back, if you were a working class American and you voted for Trump, you put yourself in this hole. Right. And you put us all in a hole.
Right.
So I'm gonna leave it alone.
I'd like to address the comment that was and I appreciate you sharing that comment with us. Charles, can you put that back up again if you get a second?
Yeah.
And I just want to speak to that. I certainly understand how you feel. Mm-hmm. Okay, I certainly understand how you feel. There is I'll put it this way, such a damnable structure that has just been impugned in the absolute controlling of people's lives that is disgusting. Mm-hmm. It is disgusting. Okay. And for you to experience that, and I don't even have time now to show the things that I've been through, but yet in the vision of knowledge that I've gained through that, I just want to encourage you, where you are with things. Hey, I affirm and understand. All right. Let your individual free will journey be one that you respect for yourself with your creator. Okay. You don't have to worry about going through anybody's understanding about their idea of religion or their religious practices. All right. You embrace what speaks to you. All right. From an agnostic standpoint of view, I understand, because it does throw you into a position of not wanting to believe in anything because of man's behavior. And there's some horrendous behaviors that we can expose right here on this show. Okay, at the end of the day. All right. So I'm not going to pass over. I'm not going to smooth over it. I'm not going to say, oh, brother, would you? No. I ain't going to do it. Embrace where you are right now. Okay. Understand where you are. And then let what you know is our creator speak to you in terms of where you need to go as an individual. If you don't ever walk back into a church again, you fine. Okay. Because that's what he told you to do. All right. And live in the fact that's what he told you to do. Don't let anybody ever try to change you of that unless you decide to change your own mind. All right. But anyway, so your point earlier. gosh, okay, my thoughts are like kind of went all over the place. I'm sorry about that, guys. I watched the other night a documentary, and then seemingly like that any religious perspective, I'm saying for that terminology, comes forward during the time of Resurrection Sunday. I don't choose to say Easter, for different reasons, but comes around because everybody comes up with their different ideas of giving in definition of interpretations. Okay. But the one I watched was on the Ten Commandments. Remember one I was watching the day on the Ten Commandments. Oh my God, y'all got it wrong, baby. Y'all got that 10 Commandments wrong. All right. Y'all need to go and get you some cable and listen. And well, actually, the same documentary they did on the History Channel years ago. But this is another one. What was it called? The Story Channel or something like that it was. But baby, let me tell you, the 10 Commandments has been watered, adjusted, moved, shifted, moved around.
The whole book has.
In its inception. And it is you will drop your mouth open, okay? And in terms of that, and then the bottom line with that is that we have created a legalistic system, okay? A legalistic system on truths of someone else's understanding, how they saw themselves in God. How can we do that? How can we allow that to happen to humanity? And just as the gentleman said, or I'm not sure if gentleman or female, just said a minute ago, this is the very reason why we need to watch what we say and how and just stop. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just all over the place because it just picked up something within me about where the way this system is and the way it has. So, but again, let's just all take a moment and take a step back. You know what I'm saying? Take a moment and breathe in our given situation, okay? Let's look at life for what it is and what has been able to present it to us and know that we have the power and the ability to adjust it, okay? If you're a prayer, pray on, baby. But if you're a doer, get up from praying and get something done, okay? If you have an idea like our mom said, write that mess down. Write it down, okay? Put it out there. There's scripture that says, though the vision tarry, write it down. Write it down, okay? Put it out there. But the writing it down doesn't change anything else. It changes you, okay? This is like prayer. Prayer changes you, okay? All it is meditation.
Your forgiveness is not for them. It's for you.
Okay? So all of these different disciplines and things like you said, disciplines and all these things like that seem to surface, and you don't want people to do this, that, and the third. It all starts with an individual. An individual has to find themselves.
Mom, we don't read Queen James.
Find yourself, okay? We're not going to get into the Bible debates, okay? This is not a Bible debate, or which one you read and all that. No. I know. We ain't getting into the Bible debates, okay? Because everybody has their own understanding of the way they see things, and everybody's not necessarily going to see it one way. That's why the Pharisees and Sadducees had debates every day, okay, throughout the time of Jesus walked earth. That's why they had debates, because half of them agreed, half of them didn't. And they sat there and kept going over line by line by line by line, every day, line by line, trying to find something different, to have something different to say about somebody else. That's why we got over 3,000 different denominations, because everybody don't want to believe on one thing. And that one thing should be only.
My preacher is Michael Jackson.
Okay,
I'm talking to the man in the mirror.
Nina Simone was mine.
Believe me, my point. But anyway, I do. But so let's not do it. And I think that's the one thing that why people don't understand the aspect of having spirituality, because we're always trying to prove somebody else wrong based upon some scriptures that have been put together in different ways, in different formats. And if that speaks to you that way, go for it. Okay, it's not going to speak to everybody else in the same way. Okay, and we need to stop that as believers. Okay, we need to stop trying to force our opinions about how we see it for ourselves on somebody else. What I do is I share. Okay, I have a lot invested in me. Okay, I do my best not to be on the legalistic side of anything when it comes down to spirituality and anything else. All right, because an open canon is what the scriptures were supposed to be in the first place.
All right, now on to the next subject.
Yes, moving on. Go ahead.
But mine but I just want to put this as out there, like he said, Michael Jackson was his. Mine is Nina Simone, because Mississippi, goddamn.
Okay, well,
Mississippi, goddamn. Well, that's a word right there. That whole entire song is a word for you.
Well,
if you don't understand, you need to go listen to that song, because we're going through it right now. Yeah. So what's the next topic of discussion?
You had the other one there for the night. We only got 2 minutes anyway. You had the other. So no, but I know we we have been doing our best to stay from the political arena, as much as we possibly can. We're tired of talking about the orange. There's no other color out here but the orange agent. But I do want to say this is that I appreciate Bernie Sanders, and I appreciate what's I can't say her name.
AOC.
Yeah. For getting out and drawing attention to the things of we the people. Okay.
Yeah.
I really hope that we the people will continue this charge to make some things. But at the end of the day, I'm saying Democrats, y'all need to put some fire up in your ass, not under your ass, some up in your ass. Okay. Because y'all are disappointing. Y'all are very, very disappointing.
And my eyes have been open too to this whole entire scenario that's been going on up there. Y'all really have opened my eyes to how very disappointing like the lady said on my algorithm the other night. Y'all have the worst PR. You have the worst PR, and you still haven't learned yet. In order to get to the undecided,
this is why they ain't learned.
And to the ignorance of some of these Americans is to make it so that they could learn. Dumb down the message is what I really want to say.
Go ahead.
Dumb down the doggone message. And you got to understand in order to do that, you will connect to the youth. But then on top of that, the integral part of it is leave the ratchetness to the side, because leave Meg Thee Stallion and all these people to the side. It ain't worth getting these people involved in what y'all got going on. It's time to be real about the situation right now. And I think the Democrats, they really not doing a good job. AOC and all of them. The only people that are out here doing the doggone thing is your wife, Charles.
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett. And you do have AOC, and you do have
Governor Westmoreland.
Governor
Westmoreland, Bernie Sanders.
What's the young guy?
Randy Ruskin. There's a few of them. Hakeem Jeffries is trying. Hakeem Jeffries is trying, but he's just too subtle.
I think he is trying, but he's trying to keep the foundation solid on his end. But at the end of the day, you can't rationale with these people. I'm sorry.
He's too subtle.
That's the problem with them. They're trying to communicate to evil.
Yeah. Well, okay.
They're trying to communicate to evil, and these people are so ingratiated in their evil. They ain't trying to listen to what you gotta say. They mock everything that is being the truth as it is. Do you all hear Trump every time he gives a lecture or he gives a speech? He just keeps on repeating himself. Constantly repeating everything constantly to the point that you keep thinking, did I just rewind this over and over and over again? Because I think he understands that, and probably he is right in his own way of thinking, that we as Americans, we don't pay attention. Yeah, we're stupid. We don't pay attention to a lot of stuff. We don't pay attention to a lot of stuff. A lot of Americans do not pay attention to the details of everything. That's why we're so lost in the sauce when it boils down to how our government works. We don't know that in order to get expedient outcomes, you need to vote on your state and local levels. Your mayors and your governors are your expedients. The federal government is not going to be expedient with what you want. So that's why I hate to say this. This is why Trump is having a hard time getting his executive orders over to the local and state situations, because these judges are whooping his ass.
Right. So deserving.
They're whooping his ass.
I think you muted yourself, Charles.
Go ahead, Charles.
You muted yourself, Charles.
That's right. Yeah, Mom. The money has changed the Democratic Party. It definitely has.
Wait, you still muted, Charles.
And you have people within. You have people. They have been. A lot of these politicians have gotten rich. That's the problem. They have really lost all types of. They have lost the American people.
Right.
They have cut themselves off from reality because of the fact that they are up them, thinking that they're doing the goodness for the people or for whatever they're trying to do, but they're getting rich.
And here's go ahead, Charles. I'll say my point of view.
Charles.
Oh no, I was just going to say executive orders aren't laws. They're notes to the public, and people who know civics and understand how government works. That is not it's not laws. He can't make laws. Congress does. Right. And that's why Congress now is trying to shut down the courts in order to let Donald Trump do what he wants to do. This is why your vote is so important. People don't understand that when you don't participate in the process, you leave the power to those who want it.
Right.
And that's why we now have an oligarchy of rich people trying to control the system.
Right.
But see, the funny thing about it is these tariffs. See, that's really effing with them right now. Yeah, these tariffs are really, it's like it's the rug that has been ripped up underneath some of them because they didn't think, well, you know, I was all for it, but then it's messing with my business. Walmart, for example, one of the biggest endorsers of the Republican Party, especially of Trump, that woman cut all ties from Trump. Mm-hmm. She put an ad in the New York Post saying that she was cutting all ties with him because of the tariff situation. Mm-hmm. It's like at the end of the day, these people thought they were getting a big deal out of what this man was going to do. This man is getting them up.
Right. No, he's flocking them up.
And it's messing with them.
I didn't say that word. I said flocking.
It's messing with them. And then on top of that, for us working class, I hate to say it, those of us, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle a lot. We're going to.
Well, you know,
we're going to struggle.
Well, you know, I think if you prepare and do your best to prepare, the struggle will be like, you know.
We were looking for STEMI.
Oh no! Well, you talking about them? All right, yeah. I guess
we were looking for a STEMI. Everybody wanted a STEMI. The ones that you know,
and they got a sticky.
Well, I bet some of those who want a STEMI, they gonna. Come May 5th, come May 5th, anybody that's not paying student loan debt is going into collections.
That's the STEMI.
That's the STEMI right there.
That's the STEMI.
And half of the country is on student loan debt. And those who wanted a STEMI, if you ain't paying your student loan, it's going into collection. And then situations of garnishment is going to happen because the Republicans are trying to pay down the debt. They're trying to pay down their own debt, their man-made debt.
Right.
So if they're going to pull from the poor to pay Paul,
they need their cuts. They need the tax cuts, and they can't do it without eliminating the middle class's benefits.
Right.
Well, they ain't got no benefits. They about pulled off the retirement plan.
Earned income credit is gone from $2,000 to $1,000. Wow. Now being married doesn't make a big difference at all. You're just paying taxes.
You're just paying taxes.
And in Mississippi, they eliminated taxes. That's going to help. They're already dirt poor, no education. So having a couple of dollars is only to get you more beer. That's all that is.
And that is another
beer. MD 2020. What are you talking about?
Hey, don't talk about MD 2020. That's my drink.
It's just another point to keep the big boy system. What's it called? What they call that system down south?
Good old boy.
The good old boy system going.
True.
That's been going since the Reconstruction. They have always been that has always been the situation down south to keep certain people in position and keep everybody else's asses broke. To the point that the only way to keep people in line is to divide and separate and conquer. And the only way to do that is racism down there. And not only that, but religion and
segregation.
Segregation, homophobia, all of that that rules down there because that keeps those good old boys like Lindsey Graham who likes to allegedly fuck other.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
We know
that. It's real out here in these streets. The ones that are pushing this narrative. Listen, there is
Grindr. I'm sorry.
The curtain. There's always the wizard behind the curtain. The man behind the curtain. The one that said, "Well, we don't need same-sex marriage. We don't need this. We don't need that."
Grindr behind the keyboard.
The speaker of the house. What's his
got
name?
Grindr behind the keyboard.
The speaker of the house got called on Grindr allegedly. He got called on Grindr.
Thank you.
Yes, market yourself, brand yourself, promote yourself, network yourself, and invest in yourself. That's right. But these people, they something else.
Yeah, they do. So as we bring it in,
bring it in.
We shared a lot of different points tonight. At the coming off of the heels of everything that is going on.
Peel back the curtain.
Right. Okay, we did that. But I want to tie it, at some point, I want you to go ahead and read the April 22nd caption if you like, and then we're just going to tie it back into the Pope.
Well, this is everything is aligning in divine timing. You're calling it in with your energy. Trust that it's already yours. Release the need to question it. Let go of the mental noise. It only dims your light. Breathe. Surrender. Believe. What you desire is on its way. Let it flow to you with ease. Let it flow with ease. Okay, Lord. I shouldn't say that out loud. I was going to say
that is, you know, when I saw that today, I said this is a great caption to, you know, to empower, you know, everyone that is listening and listening in the days to come. It's all about how you see yourself. It's all about how you invest in yourself. It's all about how you liberate yourself. Okay. The person that gave us the caption, he had to liberate himself or herself from a different place of a thought. Okay. And how that thought impacted their life up to this particular point in time. But now they have an opportunity to liberate themselves and elevate themselves. Okay. The universe is always speaking. Okay. But the main thing I always say is, are we always listening?
That's right.
Okay. We listen through tragic events. We listen through good events. We listen through conversation. We listen through a traffic jam. We listen through the dog barking. There's all so many ways of listening. But the problem is are we really listening? The one thing I like to just to say, you know, again, I know that, you know, we started the aspect about the Pope, but the one thing, this is not about him, but it is about him, because I want to use him as an ending point, as a point of celebrating his humility, okay, and the humility that he put forward in his life to sacrifice his life to a point. Now, I don't agree how he sacrificed his life, you know, I mean, as you know, the celibacy and all the things that they do under that organization to make you more God worthy, and of course, everybody wants to get into their legal issues and all that type of stuff. Look. They got just as much legal issues that everybody else's church got legal issues going on. Okay. Anytime you got man involved, there's gonna be something legally gonna have to go on. All right. So it may have been going on for centuries. They may have been touching boys, touching girls. Guess what? Your pastor's been touching boys and touching girls too. All right. So let's not, you know, kind of cast the stone. All right.
Save themselves from a Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, with that too. Okay. but it, you know, but every time that we're together here, we always want to drop a message, you know, in your life. Okay. You don't have to agree. It's okay. But I would say do the investigation as an individual for yourself and take this as an opportunity to elevate your thought pattern a little bit more different. Okay. To the people of color that listen to us, y'all need to wake up.
Right.
Okay, we cannot keep running back to 2,000 years ago and saying what was, because it ain't what is now. All right, at the end of the day, and let's hope that it'll never get to that particular point, but it won't get to that particular point, in my opinion, because we're too strong-minded in order to allow that to happen. Okay, we weren't dealing with a strong-minded level of people of education. Okay, then as you are now. You're far more educated. You're far more strategy. You have far more strategies than you did then. Okay, but even then they had some strategies. You just didn't have the right sources around them to execute that strategy. Okay.
Yeah, even Celie built her own business. Did she have her own pants shop?
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway.
First generation of slavery.
Anyway.
She was the first generation of slavery. She had her own pants shop.
The point is
CJ Walker.
Yeah, the point is that we've had a lot of examples. Okay, ones that are unnameless that we've had as examples. Okay, that have been a part of the growth and the elevation of success. Go back and read these people's stories. Madam CJ Walker, you can certainly go on what is that? Netflix and
Washington.
You know, I mean, the story represents, you know, a lot of the things that she did as an entrepreneur. Yeah. You know, first woman entrepreneur in the U.S. of color. Okay, so there are examples. There are people out there. Right. I mean, there are many examples out there that you can utilize to change your frame of mind. Okay, not expecting somebody that's elected in an office to give you a stimmy check and all that. Because if you still in the Gucci's and whatever they're paying for Beyonce tickets, your mind ain't changed in the first place. Okay, at the end of the day. All right. So take this time. Take this next few days. Elevate yourself. All right. Do something different. Do something different than you've already done. Okay. Maybe you run the church every Sunday. Stop going for a few Sundays and let God speak to you as an individual.
Free your mind. Respect yourself.
Free your mind and the rest will follow. Okay. That involves on free your mind and the rest will follow.
Yeah, I mean, he had another version. What you search on?
I said free your mind and respect yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But anyway, so guys, thank you again. Review the show. I mean, go back, get those points. And there were a lot that said. That again tonight we want to invite you back again. Tuesday Night Live. It's your show, Tuesday Night Live. All right, 6:15 on your on the West Coast. I'm sorry, now 8:15 on Central Time and 9:15 on the East Coast. We love you so much. Have a powerful, prosperous week. And you know what? The main thing you do, go out and love somebody as you love yourself. All right. We love y'all. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in to what? The truth behind the truth. Good night.